Julien Laurens, ça va, mon ami? So Brazil, alongside your Bleu, are through to the round of 16. What did you make of the game today? Did you expect it was going to be as tough as this was, especially without Neymar? I mean, we all predicted that Brazil would eventually get at the group, but what did you make of this game against Switzerland?
Yeah, I have to say I was a bit disappointed. I just thought it was a bit flat. There was not much rhythm from the Brazilians, and I think you need to get used to not playing with Neymar because he's such an influential player in that team. Everything goes through him. That when he's not there, you lose your bearings a little bit. So you need. I think they need a bit of time to get used to playing without him. And you saw with Paqueta, you saw with Vinicius, you saw with Richarlison as well that there was just something missing. And maybe that's why it was flat. The goal is wonderful by Casemiro, really, really wonderful for a player in his position to be able to do that. It shows that even the holding midfielders in Brazil are super technical, which we knew, but still to do it like that is pretty great. So I think right now they will care only about the win, not so much about how they played and if they played well or not.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see, though, Jules, going forward, because let's say Neymar isn't fully recovered when it does come to that first game in the knockouts for Brazil. How much of a struggle are they going to be? How much of a setback will it be for them if, as you mentioned, they are looking at ways and learning how to play without him?
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see. I mean, I think Paqueta, I can understand what Chichi did, chose Paqueta to move him a bit more forward to replace Ney in that kind of position. And I don't think Paqueta did badly in that first half, really. There is that great ball he gave with the outside of his left foot, on one touch for Richarlison, I think he was, or Rafinha, into space. That was great. And then it just didn't materialize, really, but that was a great ball. But he needs more of that. Obviously, he's the closest they have to Neymar, but he's so different to Neymar in the same way that, again, even with Paqueta as the 10, if you want, they would have to learn how to play with him. So it's a real worry. I have to say I'm quite worried about Neymar's fitness and how they would do without him. It depends also who you face. They could be okay and they could win the World Cup without him. I just think it'd be easier if he's there for them to win the World Cup.
Luis nodding along there.
Yeah, I mean, not much more to add. I think, look, the Brazilian team, we know how good they are, but with Neymar, they're a different beast. And what Jules said is correct. Look, Paqueta did a good job. He's not Neymar Jr. He's just one of these players that, just like Lionel Messi, just like Cristiano Ronaldo, Neymar can add that, extra element that can help facilitate Brazil. I will say, though, that in this game, I thought Chiche made a few interesting substitutions. I really thought that Gabriel Jesus should have probably entered a little bit sooner. I'm not even sure if Richarlison should have been the replacement. I feel like sometimes he overthinks too much regarding his own system, but who am I to question him? It's just more a few little nudges, but I'll give him the pass just because, it's very difficult to try and figure out, all right, what do I do with this Brazilian side in the World Cup without Neymar? I think it worked once, Anthony came in. He gave another dimension as well. And let's not forget, Danilo's absence was pretty big as well, because Danilo helps a lot when it comes to facilitating the width, Vinicius Jr. and Rafinha, and I think that his absence, as good as Militao is, he's not a natural forward-thinking type of fullback. And I think Danilo's absence was also missed.
Yeah, obviously in that first game as well, Richarlison was one of the big storylines, Jules. What did you make of him today? Is he capable of leading Brazil's attack for you?
Yeah, I mean, I would go for Gabriel Jesus, I have to say here, not Richarlison. I'm not the biggest Richarlison fan, and I've got a very controversial view on that very nice goal that he scored against Serbia, because I think it's a really bad touch to start with. It's a great scissor kick. I know that. I understand it, because Gab was outraged. It's a bad first touch. I don't care what everybody can say.
But then he corrected it.
Yeah, good on him.
Possible way.
True.
It's how you
You're
finish,
right,
Julia. It's how you finish,
right. Yeah. No, you're too right. It's still a bad touch. I don't like bad touches. I don't like when I take one. I don't like, especially at that level, when they take one, whatever position they are. I don't like a bad touch.
So you prefer the Arsenal player to the Tottenham player? Is that what you're saying?
No, really. I just think that Richarlison had been injured, but I know for Chichi he's the number one, so like there's no debate here. But I just think he's been injured, and when he's been playing with Spurs, there's been some good moments. The goals he scored against Marseille in the Champions League, for example, and then more kind of anonymous moments. I just think that Gabriel Jesus had a super productive, whether it was goals or assists or just overall production, very good with Arsenal. And I just think that maybe instead of just bringing him on for the last 20 minutes, maybe Chichi could use a bit more. I expect Gabriel Jesus to start for the third game in this group to play against Cameroon, to start against Cameroon. And then we will have a better idea maybe of what kind of different things he can bring compared to Richarlison in that team.
The ESPN FC crew all had to give their brackets, and the overwhelming favourite for the finalists was a Brazil against France final. They're the two teams that have qualified so far. I know it wasn't yours, Luis, but they're the two teams who've qualified so far. Who's the stronger side of the two of them from what you've seen, Luis, France or Brazil?
That's a really good question, especially right now in this moment in the tournament. One half of that prediction from everybody in the crew is with me. I still have Brazil in the final. And France, look, I'm going to be honest, at the beginning of the tournament, I kind of went with this all or nothing take. And, you know, it's not like it was insane. Historically speaking, it's been proven. And I thought that Didier Deschamps just had too many off-the-field issues to deal with, the transitional midfield, etc. Having said all that, I was impressed with their win over Denmark. Honestly, they found a way to win, and more players, specifically the new ones that have entered the squad, found more ways to win as well and be more competitive. So at this moment, I guess you have to determine it based on the last match, right? And Switzerland and Denmark proved to be kind of similar opponents for those sides. I'm going to stick with Brazil just because I think that they just have a little bit more. Having said that, Benzema's absence equals to Neymar's. So, you know, it's going to be a tricky one. But, hey, it would be a hell of a final if it was Brazil against France again.
It was something that worried you, though, obviously, Jules. We talked to you when Benzema got injured about whether it changed your mind for France going forward in this World Cup. With what you've seen so far, how do you feel about them? How do you rate them against this Brazil side?
They've surprised me how they kind of regrouped in a way after the Benzema exit, and that maybe I think they realized that maybe it was a bad thing, a bad moment that could lead to better things, because I think the group got more together, go more united. I'm writing a piece for the website for tomorrow about the incredible atmosphere that there is right now in the French camp. And Deschamps said something interesting the other day before the Denmark game. He said, having a great camp doesn't make you win games at the World Cup. However, it can make you lose some. And I think he's right. If there's tension like we see for Belgium, for example, where within your dressing room, there are tensions, there are players who don't see eye to eye, they don't get on. I think that could be heavy to carry in a World Cup when you're 24/7 all together. I think if you're a happy camp, again, Deschamps is right. You don't win games just because you're a happy camp. You need more than that. But at least in the tough moments, when you need to be together, not to lose a game or to go and win in the last few minutes, then I think that helps you a lot. And I think France have that now, which I wasn't completely convinced before the start of the tournament. Now they have it, and the younger players are stepping up. And then when Kylian is in that kind of form, there's nobody can stop Kylian. So I think he's looking good, better than a lot of us thought, but there's still a long way to go.
Thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more highlights, analysis, and exclusive content, be sure to subscribe.